What is going down? What is up? What is up? What is up? What is up? Just getting everything, my phone set up so I can see the chat. You know what I'm saying? So we can see the chat, so we can conversate with y'all. What up, Hunter? I'm throwing stuff. Throwing stuff. Not on purpose. Not on purpose. What up, though? What's good with everybody? What is going down? Make sure y'all hit that like button. Make sure you do what you gotta do. We getting ready to dive right into these, or well, this new MrBallen reaction. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna give you guys a few minutes to get in here. If you guys want to share and you know, get everything together. You know what I'm saying? As far as yourself. Get your tweeds, your drinks, your food, whatever you need, get it together. You dig what I'm saying? How have everybody been? I hope you've been good. You know, it's been a long day. I went skating yesterday actually. That was pretty cool. Haven't done that in a long time. Went Skate City. But I'm about to roll up real quick. I'm just waiting for everybody to get in here. Trying to see what's going down. What up, Craig? Appreciate you with the dono. Can you check out the Cloud9 What You Got featuring 380? Yeah, I'll check it out for sure. Shout out to my. I haven't talked to Cloud9 in a long time, actually. I'm going to have to hit him up, see how he's been. I haven't talked to Cloud9 in a while. I'll have to hit that dude up. See what's going down with player. See what's going down with a player. What's everybody doing? We're about to jump into this, even if we only got a couple people. I'm going to just roll up real quick. Y'all want to roll up? You want to get what you need, get yourselves right real quick. As soon as I get this blunt roll, we'll just jump into it, let people jump in as they come. And that's just what it's going to be, you know what I'm saying? If you're watching this later on and you're not on the actual live, you have the luxury to just skip right through to the part where you want to, where we're just reacting and having a good time and joking and everything else. But if you're not, hold on, I need, where'd my ashtray go? 1 second. Grab a trash can. That'll work. But yeah, if you're not, watching this after the live, if you're really hanging out with us right now, shout out to you right now. But, if there's little things we do. There's little things we do. What up, fathead? What up, brother? Come kick it. You dig what I'm saying? Come kick it with a player. Come kick it with a player. You know what I'm saying? Come spark up, dab up, vape up, dip up, moonshine up, sweet tea up, do what you gotta do. Just go up, maybe 6 shot of 2 or 3, because it comes from me. If you can't do that, open up your mind, because ultimately that's the only way to go anyway. You know what I'm saying? God damn it, I got it right again. Yeah, I got it down. I got that shit jam packed. You know what I'm saying? It took me a few times to get it right, but we got it right. Once we got it right, we got it right. There ain't no stopping us. You know what I'm saying? Hopefully y'all got getting your things together. But yeah, man. I'm excited. Let's do this. I do apologize. Let me go ahead and apologize too while we're rolling up. I do apologize to my peoples who was looking forward to the last week's Wednesday and Friday. So yesterday's lives, because those are our live reaction days. So this is actually kind of unexpected, you know what I'm saying, to do it on a Saturday, because that wasn't like what we all talked about. So I do apologize. Things came up. Life. Shit happened. You know what I'm saying? That's what it is. I ain't gonna sit here and sugarcoat it. I ain't gonna sugarcoat it and try to, give you some bullshit and all that extra shit. Nah, life happened. And it just didn't work out. I got busy. Okay? So we're here on a Saturday. And that's just what it is. Anyways, all right, guys. I'm about to finish rolling this up. Let's dive into this. We ain't gonna waste no more time. Let's do this. We got the MrBallen, Russia's most feared criminal. This is for mature audiences only. Again, we deal with mature audiences only anyway, so I don't feel like that's a problem for this crowd. Anyway, like I said, we rolled up. Let's get into this, man. Hit that full screen. Getting all good, and let's do this. Make sure we turned up. We good.
Today's story sounds exactly like an urban legend.
Let's do it.
It sounds too exaggerated, too grotesque, too terrifying to be real, but it is. This is the true story of the Bitsevsky Park maniac. But before we get into
park maniac? Hold on. He said the what park?
This is the true story of the Bitsevsky Park maniac. But before we get into today's story,
bro, I can't even try to pronounce that shit. The Bitsevsky Park. Yeah, nailed it. Got it. What Fathead said. I know that was a late message, but that was the last message that was up there, so I'm just gonna make it, apply to this situation here. So yeah, nailed it.
if you're a fan of the strange, dark, and mysterious delivered in story format, then you've come to the right place, because that's all we do, and we upload once or twice every week. So if that's of interest to you, please offer to help build the like button's new dresser they just got from IKEA. As soon as you open it up, immediately find all the screws, strip them all, and then leave.
Y'all can hear it, right?
Also, please subscribe to our channel and turn on all notifications so you don't miss any of our weekly uploads. All right, let's get into today's story.
Get into today's story. I'm gonna just tell you right now too, and I'm gonna keep it a buck with you. I was up late and partying and stuff. Like I said, we was at Skate City doing that adult skate. Hey, doing my thing. Hey. So I'm a little, tired. And I helped my sister, buy a car and shit. So if I seem a little like high, it's because I am a little high. Okay, let's go.
Moscow, Russia, which is one of the world's richest cities, is home to more billionaires than any other European city. But if you travel just 10 miles south of Moscow's richest neighborhood, the Golden Mile, you will reach one of Russia's poorest neighborhoods.
That's a cold on that. Like that. It took me a second to really let that register. Like I said, damn. Like I heard what he said when he said there's the most amount of billionaires in Russia than anywhere else. But why? I'm like, that's where I'm like, how and why? Why is Russia have so much money, but then yet they have such problems and you know what I'm saying? How? How do you have I don't know. Let's go.
The southern Moscow suburbs. Nicknamed Zhopa Mira, which means the soul of the world, these...
Nigga. He said it's nicknamed the what? It translates back to the asshole of the world?
Suburbs used to be a thriving neighborhood with tens of thousands of working-class Russians and their families calling it their home. But after the fall of the Soviet Union in 1991, the money and the jobs in this area dried up completely, and even though the residents wanted to relocate and live somewhere with more opportunity, they couldn't. They didn't have the resources to leave, and so they were trapped. Yeah. And since 1991, really nothing has changed in these suburbs. Today, there are still
that goes back to my original point that I was about to make of with the billionaires. Russia, not only do you have a place that's nicknamed the asshole of the world, the asshole of the earth, but we know that Russia it was super impoverished and had a lot of problems, and there wasn't a whole lot of money, you know what I'm saying, at least on the surface of things. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just where did all this money just come from and shit? You know what I'm saying? Where did all this money just anyways, let's continue to talk about or listen to him talk about the asshole of the world.
Thousands of now very poor Russian families that still live there, living in these totally overcrowded Soviet apartment buildings that are these big, square, identical-looking things that are literally falling apart. And most of the
That's
people
terrible.
who live in these suburbs either are unemployed or they work some dead-end job that barely pays them any money. The police in the suburbs are completely underfunded and, for the most part, are corrupt.
Sounds
and so
like all
crime
police
over the
situations.
years has
Most
really
of them
taken
are,
a dramatic uptick. Also, drug and
Let me take that back. At least it feels that way when you live in the hood. You know what I'm saying? It feel like the motherfuckers is a little underfunded. You know what I'm saying? And if they're not underfunded because they showing up late, they showing up on time, too on time, and you trying to figure out how you was on time, not on time. You know what I'm saying? Because your funding is too high. You either we got a double standard situation. We got people who are too funded and some that are probably not funded enough. But anyways, you know, it was real relatable right there. That was real relatable.
alcohol abuse are completely running rampant in this part of the world. But despite their notoriously rough living situation in the southern Moscow suburbs, these residents do have one claim to fame, and that is the Bitsevsky Park. Bitsevsky Park is comprised primarily of a massive, lush green forest that is full
Russian
of
would be
wildlife
hard
and
to
beautiful
learn,
streams
bro.
and clearings, and it sits right on the southern edge of the southern Moscow suburbs. In total, the park covers a whopping 2,700 acres and stretches 4 miles from top
Good
to
Lord,
bottom,
that's a
which
big
makes
ass
it
park.
3 times bigger than New York City's
That's a
famous
big ass
Central
park.
Park. Bitsevsky Park had always been a popular
Bitsevsky.
tourist destination
I
for
keep
people
wanting to say
living
it, but I
around
can't say it.
Moscow. But after the fall of the Soviet Union, the park's popularity skyrocketed, specifically amongst people that lived in the southern Moscow suburbs. As their lives continued to become more bleak in the 1990s, they compensated by going to the park as much as they possibly could. They would take long walks in the woods, they would play chess with their
Sounds
friends
like me
along
going to
the
the mountains.
peripheries on the park
You
benches
know, I live
and
in
tables,
Denver,
or
Colorado,
they'd go
so
cross-country
going to the
skiing in the
mountains
winter.
sounds like me.
Basically,
I don't ski.
year-round, this
That's the one thing though. We got some of the greatest ski, slopes in the world here where I live in, well, not necessarily in Denver, but like, not too far away. Short little hour, 2 hour drive, 3 hour drive away, and I can go ski on some of the best ski resorts or at the best ski resorts in the world. Man, screw that. You can keep all that shit. I'm that friend you want to take skiing. I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna roll the weed. I'm gonna go ahead and sit in the goddamn, cabin at the bar, and I'm gonna watch your ass from the window while I'm watching TV. You know what I'm saying? Smoking on my weed and shit. You know what I'm saying? Giving you a thumbs up. I don't want to go skiing. You know what I'm saying? I've done that. I've been there. I'm good, bro. I'm good. I just had to get that public
became
service
their
announcement. You know what I mean?
escape
Public
from
service
their
announcement.
miserable everyday lives. But that would not last. Starting in the early 2000s, something totally unexplainable and terrifying began happening in the park, specifically in the heavily forested area in the park.
Somebody started
And eventually, this thing, this
grabbing people.
unusual
Yeah,
event
Chief.
that was taking place, got so completely out of hand
What up, bro?
that the residents of the southern Moscow suburbs stopped going in the park. They were literally too scared to go inside. The strange phenomenon began in 2001. From May to July that
We got a
year,
commercial.
This is it, our own studio background.
Dang commercials. Oh, this ain't even a skippable commercial. I can't even skip this commercial.
Are you
Hang on, let
alright?
me read the comments. What y'all doing over here in the comments? Why y'all just chilling? Y'all just kicking back. Y'all just doing what I'm doing. Y'all smoking.
If
Y'all
you want to
chilling.
eat
Y'all
healthy
relaxing.
and feel your best, you've got to try Kachava. Kachava is the world's healthiest all-in-one meal.
All right, let's go.
10 people went missing after having been spotted either in or right around the outside of the heavily forested area inside of Bitsevsky Park. All of them were alone when they were last spotted, and all of them were men. Now, there was some precedent for people suddenly going missing in this part of Russia. Every now and again, people would try to flee these suburbs to try to make a better life for themselves somewhere else, but time and time
No, I'm not
again, they
snowboarding
would just
or
come
nothing.
back a couple of
F the snow, Craig. I don't know what you're talking about, Craig. I'm not getting. I'm not snowboarding. I'm not skiing. I'm not doing none of that shit, bro. I've tried, and I didn't even ski. I tried snowboarding twice, and I hated everything about it. Everything about it was just like not for me. So no, I'm not just going to try snowboarding because I've tried snowboarding, and I'm not going to go try skiing because it's supposed to be easier. I don't care. No.
Days or weeks later because it hadn't worked out. But when these 10 men did not come back in a couple of days or weeks, their families went to police and reported them missing. But unsurprisingly, the police did not launch an investigation. Instead, they accused the 10 missing men of just being drunk bums who probably wandered off somewhere, and whatever trouble they were in, it was their fault. Now, the families and the locals did not buy this explanation. But there really wasn't a better explanation. These men really had just kind of vanished. No one had any idea where they went.
They're adults.
And so given the kind of general grim outlook on life that lots of people held in this area, people just kind of accepted that whatever happened to these 10 men happened, and there's nothing any of us can do about it.
That's terrible.
They moved on. But in October of that year, so 2 months after the 10th man had gone missing in the park, another man went missing in the park. And then by the end of the year, 4 more men had vanished inside of the park. And all of them vanished under the same circumstances.
Oh boy was ready. He was snatching them up by the dozens and shit. Golly. He was ready. Like, now I'm just curious, like, what was he doing with these men? Like was he wearing the skins and shit? Like, I don't like, now I'm just curious. I just want to know what he was doing with these dudes, like, after he grabbed them up. Like, that's like, come on, we gotta let him get
alone
to this part,
in or around the heavily forested area in the park. The families,
let me just go. I'm so confused now, bro.
Police report their family members missing, but again, the police did not launch any investigation and blamed the missing people for being responsible for whatever happened to them.
That's
and
just
then after
not
that,
wanting to do your job right there. The cops were just like, you know what? Fuck that. They was
sure what to make of it, and locals kind of
Fuck
gossiped
that.
about
You-
it for a
you
little
that-
while and started to speculate about
We
what
ain't
might
even about
happen
to
to
try to
them,
sit there and
kind of
explain
lumped
this shit
them
to
in
you.
with the 10 other men that had gone missing. But after a while, when no new news came out about what happened to them, everyone just kind of moved on again. And unbelievable.
Well, obviously, no new news is gonna come out about it if nobody's investigating that shit. Like, what? What are you saying to me right now, bro? MrBallen, I know that you were just basically you're the messenger, so I can't shoot the messenger. You dig what I'm saying? That's not even appropriate. So I ain't even about to sit here and bash MrBallen. But like, of course, no more evidence or no more like anything came out if nobody gave a shit. Like, if everybody's just like, drunken bums. Them drunken bums. Like, all right. What did you expect? Moving on.
This pattern would repeat itself for nearly 4 years. From 2002 to late 2005, 25 more people would go missing inside of the
random ass
park.
chick.
24 of them would be missing.
He got tired of having sex with dead bodies, with dead dude bodies, and was like, let me see what it's like to have a female dead body or something. Like, this is weird, bro. Like, what the hell? And by 2005, y'all see at the bottom it says 40 people in total so far reported missing from this park. Jesus.
One of them would be a woman, although it wasn't clear if she was actually in the same category as the other 24 men. But regardless, that put the total number of mysterious disappearances inside of this forested area in the park.
I'm just saying, yeah, he like
40.
Epstein
But
and these
still,
dudes and shit.
the police
like,
shrugged it off, and eventually, so too did the local population. Everyone just kind of moved on, like this phenomenon wasn't happening, that people were not going missing in droves.
So like, it just had like, until it happened to one of your family members, it just wasn't real. Like, this shit is just like, y'all all got some bummy ass motherfuckers in your families, bro. We just, you should be lucky that we ain't accusing all y'all for this bummy shit. Like, what is really going on right now? I'm so confused.
But everything would change with missing person number 41. Because unlike the previous 40, this missing person would be found again. 63-year-old Nikolai Zakharchenko was a retired police officer who lived in a tiny apartment in the southern Moscow suburbs with his family. He was a classic Russian tough guy who chain-smoked cigarettes and drank lots of vodka. And even though he was well aware of the missing person phenomenon inside of this park, that wasn't about to stop him from doing the thing he loved, which was going on walks inside of this park. He figured whatever was out there, he could handle it. So one evening in November of 2005, Nikolai told his sister that he was going to go out for a walk in the park. But that night, he didn't come back, and so his family was very worried about him, but they decided they would wait until the next morning to see if maybe he showed up. But the following morning, when Nikolai did not show up, his family went to the police. But per usual, the police did nothing. A few days later, a local was walking fairly deep inside of the forest inside of Bitsevsky Park when they noticed well off the trail, off to the left side, there was something unusual kind of tucked in the underbrush. Now, this local was all alone. They had kind of a bad feeling about whatever this was. And so they called the police and they reported seeing something strange. And surprisingly, the police did actually come out and they went over to investigate.
So they found
this unusual thing.
Very disturbing news out of Vernon Central High School.
What's going on? All right, there we go.
Was Nikolai Zakharchenko. He was lying face down, he was fully clothed, and he...
So what? So was this dude just... So he was just like, wait, like, I'm so confused, bro. I just don't understand what is going on and why. Like, he was Epsteining bodies 1 minute, but then the next minute we find him fully clothed. You know, dudes who were just chain smokers and vodka drinkers and shit that made it out. Like, what? Like, I'm so... oh, man.
One injury, and it obviously had been fatal. He had a massive hole on the back of his head. This was not from a gunshot. This was from massive blunt force trauma. He had been struck so hard that literally the back half of his skull was blown clear off. The police searched the area and...
You know how hard you have to hit somebody to... Bruh, it's one thing to bash somebody's shit in. But to... like smack somebody, like a part of somebody's skull just off their head. Like, God, like you gotta be an angry motherfucker, bro. You gotta have some problems. You gotta have some issues to be sitting here. There go your skull over there, sir. Can you get it? Thought so. Yeah, I thought not. Yeah. Like,
they might find the murder weapon or some other clue as to what happened to him, but there was nothing. And so all the police could deduce was that Nikolai had obviously been attacked either by a person or group of people or even an animal, and that whoever his attacker was,
there's
or whatever
no animal that is sitting there blowing your back of your skull off your head, bro.
Now that the police had a body, and it likely looked like it was a murder, they could no longer ignore the fact that so many people had gone missing inside of this park, and it was looking like
Ivan got
probably
skills,
if they
bro.
looked around the park, they might find more bodies. So the local police called in reinforcements from Russia's Criminal Investigation Department, and they came to the southern Moscow suburbs, and with the local police, they began searching every inch of this park, looking for more bodies, or just for any indication of who or what was behind this attack and behind all these missing people. But after several days of a very extensive search where they looked everywhere in this park, all over the forested area.
So now we're back to him doing some weird things with the bodies.
At the same time, this huge police search was going down inside of
How you just get rid of 40 bodies though, bro?
News about
and then mess up on 41
spread amongst the southern Moscow
like
suburbs.
something is just not adding up.
Getting really
one, he grabbed a woman after he had grabbed like 36 or 7 other like dudes prior to the woman, and then on number 41 he just forgets how to dispose of bodies after he's done it successfully 40 other times. Like, I just don't buy that shit, bro. I like no I think he was just like, no, I don't know, man. I think he was tired. He wanted to go to prison, bro. If this ends in him going to prison, he was tired. He wanted a nap. That motherfucker was trying to get some sleep. He couldn't sleep. And that's what he was. He was just tired, bro. He was tired of this shit. He was just like, you know what? I think I proved my point. I think I'm good on this. I've had my fill of this shit. I think I need to go to sleep. I'm confused, bro. What is going
Before,
on?
the fear of the park felt kind of theoretical because there were no bodies. And so even though it seemed far-fetched, it did seem possible that maybe all these people were getting lost on their own, that they really were just
What?
drunks stumbling off.
No.
But now, with the discovery
No.
that one of these missing people had been horrifically killed, that made the danger associated with this park feel very real. And so it was around this time that most residents of these suburbs stopped going inside of this park in fear of whatever was out there in the forest. And they would forbid their children from going in, and they would
Scared
tell
of
their
the
neighbors,
boogeyman
don't
and
go in the
shit.
park. And they gave this evil thing that lurked in the forest that caused men to disappear and attacked Nikolai, they gave this thing a name. They called it the
I'm just, yeah,
Bitsevsky
for real,
Park
Constance, I
maniac.
feel you. What
But
up,
despite
John? What
the
up, everybody
fear
who's
of
in
this
here?
maniac
Shout out to
causing
everybody.
so many people to avoid this park, and despite the massive police presence that was in the park, constantly looking for bodies, looking for clues, and just generally patrolling the area, despite all that, people still continued to go missing in this park. Starting just a week after the discovery of Nikolai's body in November of 2005, all the way up to April of 2006.
How are people? I thought, like, didn't he just say that people were too scared to go in the park? But now he's saying people are still getting lost in this park. People just ain't learn their lesson. That's what it is. People are just dumb, bro. That's just what it is, bro. I'm pretty sure that, like, you, like, oh man, let's go.
9 more men would mysteriously vanish in the
God
forested section of
damn.
Bitsevsky Park.
He
And
got a
just
Floyd
like
Mayweather
Nikolai,
record, bro.
Just a couple of days.
He over here got that 50-0 and shit. You know what I'm saying? You can't say quite say 50-0. He like 49-1. You know what I'm saying? Because that one body got found. Like, what kind of shit is this, bro? Like, I'm just so confused. Like, how do you just keep writing off bodies, just people just disappearing? Just these are lives, man. Like, how you just write them off? They drunk. They just stumbled off the cliff. Like, fuck it. It's cool. It was their fault. Like, you ain't even try to help these motherfuckers try to find the bodies and shit. Like, what do you mean, bro? I'm just so confused. This bro got a goddamn Floyd Mayweather record and shit. Almost Floyd Mayweather record, because again, one body got found. He might have blown that motherfucker's skull off his back of his head and shit. You know what I'm saying? Better up. Poof. He knocked it off. Out the park. It's gone. Finito. Adios. You dig what I'm saying? But it got found. So I'm just confused. Like, let's go.
So they were reported
I don't
missing
understand
by their
what's going on,
families.
people.
They would be found
Shit is
lying
crazy.
out in
This is the crazy MrBallen story ever, bro. He always got some crazy stories, but this one might just be the most out of the park out there, bro. I gotta say.
of the park with the backs of their heads caved in. But unlike
What?
Nikolai, most of these 9 victims had been found with a glass bottle jammed into the hole in the back of their head, meaning almost certainly this was the work of a human, not some animal. By this point, almost
Bruh. Holy cow. He's knocking the backs of these skulls off and then stuffing them with bottles. He's just replacing the back of your skull with a bottle. Hey, man. I'm gonna put a little something, a little delicate, you know what I'm saying? Show you how delicate this shit, like, what kind of nonsense fucking freaky fuckery is this? What?
no one was stepping foot inside of the park, because it was basically common knowledge that, a serial killer is obviously on the loose in the forest. But despite this, there were still some very stubborn people who continued to go inside of the park. And one of those people was
Obviously.
32-year-old Alexander Pichushkin. He had been born in the southern Moscow suburbs, and he still lived
He thought
with
he was
his
a tough
family
guy.
in the
Don't he
same
look at him with his fucking Goku haircut and shit. You know what I'm saying? Look, that shit. Rah! Kamehameha! You know what I'm saying? He over here on fucking, what is that, Super Saiyan and shit. Fucking haircut and shit. And yeah, he was a tough guy holding his little pussy cat and shit. You know what I'm saying? Look at him holding his pussy. tough guy. He thought he was a tough guy.
2-year-old Alexander Pichushkin. He had been born in the southern Moscow suburbs, and he still lived with his family in the same tiny apartment he had grown up in. It's safe to say Alexander's life had been more difficult than his peers. When he was just 4 years old, he fell backwards off of a swing, and when he sat up, he was okay, but the swing came swinging back and smashed him in the front of the head, causing brain damage. Now, his family did not have the money to send him to a hospital, and so when he stood up after getting struck...
Look, now I feel all bad about my... I feel all bad. Just a little bit. Oh, man, that's messed up, bro. That's crazy. Let's go.
Was kind of able to walk around and he seemed okay, they determined he was fine and they didn't follow up. But Alexander was not fine. The injury had impaired his cognitive abilities, and years later when he went to school, the other kids would bully him for sounding dumb. By the time Alexander was in high school,
so he was bullied. We this is one of them I'm a serial killer because I'm gonna kill all my bullies situations. That's what that is. Okay, now I see where we're going with this. I see this is all now. It's all starting to make sense in a little bit now. You know what I'm saying? It's all starting to make sense. Okay, I see. This is why you don't make fun of people, kids. This is why you don't make fun of anybody. You know what I'm saying? So this is why your mama told you if you ain't got nothing nice to say, don't say shit at all. You know what I'm saying? This is why your mama told you this. This is why she said that shit. That was good advice. You should have listened to your mama. You know what I'm saying? You should have listened. Shouldn't have been out here motherfucking talking all that shit. You know what I'm saying? For real. This is why your mama said, if you ain't got shit nice to say, don't say shit at all.
Outcast. He didn't have any friends, and he was miserable. But his grandfather, who lived in the same apartment complex as he did...
Hold on, I just saw the comment. Wes, damn. Emotional damage. That shit's funny, bro. That shit's funny. Oh, that's fucked up. Look, Wes, your mom said, if you don't have nothing nice to say, don't say nothing at all.
This about Alexander, and he decided he would take him under his wing and he would look after him. And so the first thing he did is he asked Alexander to come over and he taught him how to play chess, believing that would be something they could bond over. And when he taught Alexander the rules of this game, which are quite complicated, it was like it opened up the secret portion of Alexander's brain that had never been opened before.
That was Alexander. That was like Mr. Miyagi and shit. You see that shit? This is like the wax on, like, you know, mastermind and shit. Like this motherfucker right here, he's the reason right here. He unlocked a whole different side of this guy right here. He helped him see the way. That's not okay. Ooh-wee.
And when he taught Alexander the rules of this game, which are quite complicated, it was like it opened up the secret portion of Alexander's brain that had never been opened before.
Like that's
Alexander immediately absorbed all this information about chess and became a master of it practically overnight. Within a couple of days of being taught how to play, he was beating his grandfather virtually every time they played together. And so his grandfather was totally thrilled about this and was very proud of Alexander. And so he decided to bring Alexander down to Bitsevsky Park, where all these old men who were total chess masters were always playing chess on all of the park benches and tables. And so he brought Alexander down there, and he put him up against all of these incredible players. And very quickly, Alexander was wiping the floor with them. And they loved him for it. He was their star. He was their prodigy. They totally adored him, and they respected him. And when they found out he was getting bullied at school, they made a point of telling him that he would always have a place with them in this park. And so for Alexander, this was like the best moment of his life. He finally felt like...
So did they like take away the little area, like the little chess player area, and this motherfucker was just like, no. No one is ever going to enjoy this park if I can't enjoy this park with my chess friends and brethren and sisterin and rah. Like what the like what like if this is like a happy place for you, why in God's earth are you sitting here out here snatching bodies up and shit? Are you trying to he's trying to replace the friendship, bro? They're gonna find all these people. They're gonna find all these people in some weird, like, chess playing positions to set up at tables, and they can't go anywhere. And he can just play chess all day, every day, and he'll never be judged. That's what it. And he'll always have his friends. We're figuring this shit out. All right, let's see how close we are.
Was accepted, and he finally felt happy. And so over the years, even after Alexander's grandfather passed away, Alexander continued to go down to Bitsevsky Park to play chess virtually every day. And he kept going to the park to play chess, even when men began going missing in the park, including some of the men he played chess with. And Alexander continued going to the park.
Look, now I'm way off. I thought this dude was the dude that's out here snatching motherfuckers up and shit. And nope. That ain't even it. Now he's gonna be on some weird shit where old boy's gonna be over here playing chess and figuring it out. He gonna figure out and find the killer. Damn, I thought I had it right, bro. We are off. We have to be, because now, like, damn.
Play chess even after bodies began piling up in the park. Alexander's mother was terrified for him and felt like he didn't understand the risk he was putting himself in by going to this park all the time. But every time she pleaded with him not to go, just take one day off from playing chess, Alexander would say, "Mom, I'm gonna be fine." And then he would leave anyways. In April of 2006, Alexander was 32 years old and worked for a local grocery store stocking shelves. By this point, at least 50 people had vanished mysteriously in the forested section of the park,
still not found.
And 10 bodies had been found. On the morning of the 12th of that month, Alexander showed up to the grocery store for his shift, and right away he noticed there was a new employee. It was this beautiful older woman he had never seen before, and Alexander, while he was confident playing chess, was not remotely confident around women. He had never had a girlfriend before. But he found himself looking at this woman across the store, feeling like she was different, that she was more approachable than other women. And so he told himself that day he was going to go up to her,
bro?
and he was going to
so lost.
And so all through his shift, he kind of awkwardly watched this woman from a distance, kind of building up his confidence. And then at the end of his shift, her shift was also ending. The pair walked outside at the same time, and Alexander was about to say something, but he just couldn't find his voice. And then he noticed this woman had put a cigarette in her mouth, but she was fishing around for her lighter, like she couldn't find it. And so Alexander jumped into action and pulled his own lighter out, and he held it out to her and said, "Hey, can I light your cigarette?" And so before long, the two were chatting, and they were walking together and smoking their cigarettes. And over the course of their conversation, Alexander would learn this woman was named Larissa Kolegina, and she was 48 years old, and she lived near Alexander's apartment. And so after they walked for a little while, they arrived in front of her apartment building. And at this point, Alexander knows she's about to go inside. And so he suddenly feels bold, and he asks Larissa, "Hey, do you want to continue walking around with me for a bit and maybe do a pass through the park?" Now, at this point, the Bitsevsky Park was totally not a place you would bring people to. This is a place that everyone in the area is basically terrified of. But for Alexander,
I'm so lost.
Bitsevsky Park was
see
like
where this
his
is
happy place. And so naturally, if he's going to take a woman on a date, that's where he's going to bring her. And surprisingly, Larissa was very quick to say, "Oh, let's go to the park." And so the two, they lit up another cigarette, and they walked across the road, and they walked through the front gates of the park. Their first stop was the chess tables along the periphery. Go back in there every single day. And so after seeing where Alexander spent all of his time, it seemed like it was time to turn around and leave. But neither Alexander nor Larissa wanted their date to end, and so they decided to light up another cigarette and then follow a walking path
this story
that
going?
looped into the forest and came back out again. And as they entered the woods and got deeper and deeper
find all
into
50
the
bodies.
forest, the chess tables that were behind them faded from view, and the sky began to get darker and darker as it was getting late.
49
but the pair
bodies, 'cause
just
they
kept
found
on
one
walking, maintaining
already.
their cheerful conversation.
What the fuck is
But
going
at
on?
some point, as they talked and walked, the path below their feet stopped looking like the path they had originally set out on. Now they're stepping over broken logs, and they're ducking under low-hanging branches, and it's not really clear if they're on a marked trail anymore. But neither of them bring it up. They just maintain their kind of light conversation and continue walking as if nothing's going on. However, they both definitely began walking faster and faster to maybe speed up this loop. But at some point, when it was very obvious they were no longer on a path, they both came to a stop. As they had walked, Alexander had been in front, and so when they came to a stop, he turned around and he looked at Larissa, and right away he...
This is it. Our own studio backlog.
Hollywood, here we go.
More commercials.
Something's wrong.
Easy if you spend enough time in one thing, you you definitely really good at it. That is not a lie. You so true and right about that.
He could tell there was just something wrong about her. There was a look on her face that just didn't look right. She looked exhausted or sad or something. And then as he's looking at her, she inexplicably kind of collapses into a tree right next to her, and she grabs the tree with her arms and she slides down to its base and she presses her cheek and her chest up against its bark and she begins to cry. Alexander has no idea what's going on, so he just stands there staring at her.
What would you do if you were like on a walk and, having a nice time with a lady and all of a sudden she starts hugging a tree and crying and doing all some weird shit like she's on shrooms or something? What how would you take that? Like, bitch, what the fuck is wrong with you? Hey, what is wrong with you?
In between sobs, Larissa looks up at Alexander and says, "You're the maniac, aren't you?" Alexander couldn't believe it. She was the first person to figure it out so quickly.
Oh, I was right.
He would have to tell his victims before he killed them. And so he smirked and he looked at her and he said, "Yes,
I was right. It was this crazy ass Goku looking ass motherfucker."
And so Larissa, at this point, she lets out this huge sob and she looks down and she keeps crying. And then she looks back up again at him and she says, "Are you going to kill me?" And without any hesitation, Alexander looks at her and he says, "Yes, I am." And then he reached into his jacket and he pulled out. No one knows for sure why Alexander became a serial killer or why he almost exclusively targeted men. Many people believe it might have something to do with the brain damage he suffered as a 4-year-old when that swing hit him in the head, that somehow that rewired his brain and made him more aggressive towards other people, especially men. But that's just speculation. And other than that injury, there really isn't much in Alexander's life that stands out as a big red flag. He just kind of floated about his life.
I was right, though, the first time. He took me for a loop. Good storytelling, Mr. Ballen.
He got this urge to kill, and he actually decided to act on it. He brought up this desire to a classmate of his named Mikhail Odachuk, and surprisingly, Mikhail says to Alexander, "I want to kill someone too. Let's do it together." And so the two met up a couple of days later and they headed off to Pitsevsky Park and began walking around the forest looking for a lone person that could be their victim. And as they're walking along, Alexander...
That is some weird shit. Hey, man, I think I want to go commit a crime. Bro, I've been feeling like doing that same crime. Bro, let's go to the park. We're going to find our victims. Let's do it. Like, what the Who raised you? Some people's kids, man.
Fully committed, but he can tell Mikhail is not. He's starting to get cold feet, and he's talking about, maybe let's stop for now and head back and maybe do this another time. And Alexander, he's getting more and more angry and frustrated with Mikhail until finally Alexander decides, my first victim will be Mikhail. And so he turns to Mikhail and he says, "You know what? If you want to head back, you can." Mikhail says, "Okay, maybe we can do this another time, right?" And Alexander says, "Sure." And so Mikhail turns around, and as soon as his back is to Alexander, Alexander pulls out his hammer, and he smashes Mikhail in the back of the skull, causing Mikhail to crumple to the ground, either dead or unconscious. But either way, he's laying on the ground. And as soon as he is Alexander remembers that they had passed a little while earlier this well kind of hidden in the middle of the forest.
And so
he grabbed Mikhail's body and he dragged him through the forest over to this well. And when he got to the well, he pulled the lid off of it, and then he picked Mikhail's body up, pushed him up and over the edge, and dropped him inside. And Mikhail fell 30 feet all the way down to the icy water below. And then Alexander put the lid back on the well, he grabbed his hammer off the ground, and he left. An important part of Alexander's killing
he was putting all the bodies, was in the well. So what? Where does the water go, though? Was this water? Was this like were people drinking this water and shit? Were you bathing in this water and shit? Like what? Where does this water go?
This well was not a drinking water well.
Okay.
It was basically an access point to this deep underground sewer system that stretched all around the underside of this park. And so when Mikhail fell down this 30-foot shaft, he didn't just land at a pit of water right at the bottom of the well. Instead, he fell all the way down the shaft until it opened up like the bottom of a huge scientific beaker. It was basically like this big cave at the bottom of the well that was full of very deep water. And so Mikhail would have splashed into that water, which was icy cold, and then after Alexander put the lid on top of the well, it would have been pitch black inside of that space. Now, even if it had been lit up, there was no ladder for Mikhail to climb back out of.
Crazy.
And there was a current running through
in.
this well because there were tunnels leading into it and then out the other side. And so Mikhail, if he woke up, if he was conscious when he hit the water, he would have immediately been swept into another tunnel. And many of the other tunnels that led away from this cave space were completely filled with water. And so he would have had nowhere to breathe. He would have been sucked into a tunnel and he would have drowned. And so whether Mikhail died from the strike on the back of the head or whether he drowned, we don't know.
That's crazy.
But he died after being thrown in the well. And then his body was swept miles and miles away to some deep underwater recess where nobody was looking. Alexander would wait another 9 years before he killed again. But once he started up again, he didn't stop.
Right,
his first kill after the
50.
hiatus was in the summer of 2001. His victim was a man he liked to play chess with. In fact, this was a man that loved Alexander and was definitely one of Alexander's friends. They regularly played chess with each other. And one day in May, after a game of chess, Alexander asked the man if he wanted to head into the forest to pay respects to his dog, who he had buried out in this forest. And he told the man he was going to have a sip of vodka over his dog's grave. And so this chess friend of his agrees to go with Alexander because he loves Alexander. He's a good friend of his. And says, absolutely,
so he was
let's
like
go
really
pay our
suckering
respects to your
people
dog.
into
And so
some
the pair
bullshit.
begin walking into the forest. And at first, they're on a trip.
But you know what? No. Part of that one right there, though, you got to kind of give a little bit of blame to old boy. Because who is burying their goddamn pets in public parks and shit? That's some weird shit. And then who, like, you know what I'm saying? And then you, like, randomly invite, I'm going to go have a sip of vodka over my dead dog's, grave and pay respects to him out somewhere deep in the forest off the trails. And, like, bro, red flags. No thanks. You know what? Let's take a shot right here. I got things to do, man. I love you, but I gotta go. You know, my phone's ringing and shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, I would have came up with anything, bro. Anything.
But eventually, Alexander says to this man that you need to leave the trail in order to get to the gravesite. So the man says, yeah, no problem. And so they get off the trail and they're walking for a little while until they reach the well. And when they get to the well, Alexander stops and he kind of points to some arbitrary spot on the ground and says, oh, that's where my dog was buried. And so Alexander pulls out a bottle of vodka and he takes a swig and then he hands it to the man who does the same thing to kind of do this commemorative drink for this dog. And then afterwards, Alexander looks at his friend and kind of gestures with his arm to get the man to, take them back out of the forest, back out to the chess tables. And so the man turns around and begins backtracking. And as soon as he does, and his back is to Alexander, Alexander pulls out his hammer, he walks up behind his friend, and he smashes him over the back of the head. And then just like Mikhail, he drags this man's body over to the edge of the well. He pulls the lid of the well off, and then he lifts this man up, and he dumps him into the well shaft, and then he puts the lid back on top. Alexander continued to lure his victims out to that well, and all of his victims were people he knew. They were his chess friends. They were his neighbors in his apartment complex. They were anyone he had a personal relationship with. He would later say that that was his preferred victim. He liked to know the person he was killing. It made him feel like God. Amazingly, it would turn out not all of Alexander's victims who were chucked into that well actually died. Victims number 16 and 17, who were a pregnant woman and a 13-year-old boy respectively, after they had their heads smashed with a hammer and they got chucked into the well, their clothing got caught on a snag poking out of the inside of that 30-foot shaft, and it literally arrested their fall and kept them from plummeting all the way into the water. And somehow, in both instances, Alexander didn't notice. He just put the well lid back on and walked away, believing they were both dead. But they weren't, and after they regained consciousness, they were able to kind of claw their way back up the well shaft and pulled themselves out of the well. Both victims would go to the police, and both of them would positively identify who their attacker was, Alexander. But the police didn't care. In fact, they told both of these victims that they needed to drop the charges and leave them alone. And if they didn't, they, the police, would come up with something to have both of them arrested, the victims. And so Alexander got away with it, and the victims were literally intimidated by the police to stay quiet. And so that led to dozens and dozens more murders. In April of 2006, after Alexander told Larissa he was the maniac and he was going to kill her, he walked behind her as she cried and continued to hold onto the tree, and he wound up his hammer and brought it smashing into the back of her head. And then as she slumped to the ground, he hit her several more times in the back of the head with the hammer, and then he pulled out a vodka bottle and he jammed it inside of the hole, and then he left. 2 months later, Alexander would lure another woman out into the middle of the forest with him. Her name was Marina. She was 35 years old, and she had met Alexander while working at the grocery store with him. She actually was hired to work at the grocery store to fill Larissa's now vacant spot. Before Alexander and Marina began their walk out to the park, which was Alexander's suggestion, Marina said she just needed to stop by her apartment to let her son know where she was going. And so they swung by her apartment. Marina went upstairs and she left a note for her teenage son saying where she was going and who she would be with. And she even left behind Alexander's name and his phone number on this note. And so when she came back out again and she and Alexander began walking towards the park, Alexander knew that if he killed her, which was his intention, that he would certainly be caught. The police were on super high alert at this point, and they would certainly get their hands on this note, and that would absolutely implicate him. And so he didn't really know what to do. But by the time they were strolling into the forest, Alexander had decided he was going to kill her anyways. And many people believe he did this specifically to get caught, not to protect the public from himself, but because he wanted fame. He wanted recognition for what he had done. This theory stems from the fact that starting with his 41st victim, Nikolai Zakharchenko, Alexander began leaving his victims' bodies out in the open. He stopped putting them into that well. And he wouldn't just leave them out in the open. He would prop them up in strange poses against trees, and he would jam glass bottles into the holes in the backs of their heads, indicating he wanted the police to find them. That way, he could get all the credit he believed he deserved. When the police did finally arrest Alexander, they searched his apartment and they found this notebook. And in this notebook was a picture of a chessboard. Now, a chessboard has 64 squares on it, and in Alexander's notebook, this chessboard had 62 of the 64 squares filled in. And Alexander would explain to police that that was his scorecard. He had 62 victims. It would turn out 2 of those people had actually survived, the pregnant woman and the 13-year-old boy, but still, there were 60 murders accounted for in this notebook. Alexander would be fully cooperative with police and would tell them every detail he could possibly remember about every single killing, including what conversations were like with the person he killed right before he killed them. He would also often reenact what he did to the person and how he felt afterwards. It was very clear that Alexander was reveling in the attention he was getting from law enforcement, and it was very clear that he loved talking about killing. Ultimately, the police were only able to gather enough evidence to charge Alexander with 49 murders, not 60. And when Alexander heard this, he was totally disappointed, and he asked the judge if he could get credit for the other 11 murders to maintain his 60 victim mark. The judge said no. During his trial, Alexander was deemed...
Judge crushed his dreams. No, you can't have credit for those ones. We didn't find the evidence to tie them to you, so no, they're not yours. That's like a psychological mindfuck right there to a serial killer, like, who really, really, really wanted to have, like, the notoriety and the like, claim to fame to these 60 murders. Like, you know, he already lost 2. He was already with, all right, I'll give you them 2. Those 2 fucking survived. Cool, whatever. It is what it is. Damn, you know? But no, you can't have... That's what you get.
He's such a threat, he was kept inside of a glass cage the entire time. And during the proceedings, he showed no remorse and, in fact, seemed kind of happy, like he was enjoying
Yeah, I
the
mean, he asked
spectacle
for
of his
credit,
trial.
bro.
He was ultimately given the harshest penalty
He
under
said,
Russian
"Can I get
law
credit?
at the time,
I need
which
my
was
credit,
life
bro."
in prison without parole. And
That's like you trying to return some shit to Walmart and shit. Motherfuckers like, nah, I ain't give you cash, but I'll give you some credit on this gift card. That nigga said, "Can I get my credit on the card?" What kind of shit is that, bro? I ain't never heard
the
no
first
shit like
15 years of his life sentence would be in complete and total solitary confinement. So virtually no human interaction,
Damn.
kept inside of his cell 24 hours a day with nothing in his cell all day long. Alexander is still alive today, and he is still in solitary confinement.
Damn.
So that's going to do it, guys. If you got something out of today's episode and you haven't done
No,
this
man,
already,
let 'em go.
please offer to help build the
That
Like
shit's
Button's new
crazy.
dresser they got from IKEA. And as soon as you open it up, take all the screws out, strip them all, and then leave. Also, please subscribe to our channel and turn on all notifications so you don't miss
Shout
any of our
out to
weekly...
MrBallen. Make sure y'all go subscribe to him and, you know, run it up. That was a crazy story, man. It was he told that story really good because I was like super lost and like just so confused. Like, what is going on? Why is this story? What is like what? And then it started like unfolding. It was like, oh shit, oh shit, oh there's bodies missing. Oh there's bodies. Oh there's a body that's popping up with his skull blown off. Like what the hell? Like yeah, it was pretty crazy. That dude was nuts. That dude was nuts. There's no doubt about it. No ifs, ands, or buts. Oh boy, it's crazy. But yo, that one was a little long, and just because the video was 34 minutes, so I think we've already over an hour. I'm actually kind of tired, guys, and I need to go still hit the gym. I need to go work out, and I need to eat. So I'm gonna go ahead and we're gonna cut it on this one. We're just gonna do the MrBallen, but I think I might try to do another live reaction tomorrow. Yeah, obviously we'll get more reactions and stuff tomorrow anyway, because there's some stuff that I did some reactions to that I gotta edit, and there's some stuff that's just needs to be turned on and made public. But yeah, so I guess get y'all some more reactions tomorrow. I think we'll do another live reaction after I'm a little refreshed. You dig what I'm saying? And I'll catch y'all in the next one. You dig what I'm saying? I love y'all. All right. Whole lot of good gang stuff and ish and things and stuff like that. I'll catch y'all later. Peace.